Hey guys, Simone Fan 101 here with my NXT review. Just watched NXT literally a few hours ago, and I let's get to it. This is the I think this was the second set of tapings that that was taped because remember last week's episode for the most part was dead with the exception of the Balor Cruise match. But this show was very lively, very good crowd here, and crap, where's my notebook? There you are. Remember, I don't have the greatest memory. I can remember some things, but not all of it. So that's why I always have Mr. Book here to help me out. Okay, show started off with crap, you jerk. Show started off with a singles match between Johnny Gargano and Baron Corbin. Last week, Baron Corbin went into William Regal's office saying that he wanted to be still wanted to be, up for the number one contendership for the NXT Championship. Regal said that Corbin, despite the controversy in the match, the one thing that was made simply clear was that you tapped out. You lost. So you're no longer part of this. He was obviously pissed. And I love Corbin's new gimmick, his new shtick, which is he hates basically all the indie wrestlers. Because Corbin is not an indie wrestler. He's a pure TNA guy. So, and I know Vince McMahon has to love that about him. That he's purely from the WWE developmental system and not from a Ring of Honor, a TNA, a New Japan, or a Lucha Underground. We have we had ourselves actually in a span time of like a little bit less than 5 minutes. It was actually a really good match. Gargano made Corbin look very good here and vice versa. There was a point in the match where I'm like, holy shit, Gargano might actually beat Corbin. And he actually had Corbin on the ropes. He had him on the run. Corbin then hit him at the end of days. 1, 2, 3. Corbin's the winner of the match. We had ourselves a pretty good match here in the span time of 5 minutes. So I wish it could have gone on longer. This could have been a very nice match given, say, 5 more minutes, maybe. It was so, and this match proved to me more than anything that Corbin has really improved over the last year as a wrestler. Because remember, before that, he would always beat people in just a few minutes. His first good match of his career was his match with Samoa Joe at TakeOver Brooklyn. Then he went on to have a few good matches, tagging with Rhino in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Then he had what I thought was a mediocre but still okay match at TakeOver London with Apollo Crews, which Corbin actually won. And then he was recently in the triple threat match with himself, Samoa Joe, and Sami Zayn just a few weeks ago. With that said, this match pretty much put the nail in the coffin that Corbin is a guy worth putting more investment in. He's good. He's not just a big guy. He also has a unique look. Long hair, very tall, very brawn, bunch of tattoos. A guy that looks like he can beat your ass. I know that sounds a little bit that sounds actually a lot like Roman Reigns, but unlike Roman Reigns, at least as of now, Baron Corbin looks like a guy who, if he wanted to, he would tear you in half and then eat you if he wanted to. Sorry about that, but I just thought I'd give my praise to Baron Corbin. Next, we have the Hype Bros defeating insert jobbers here. Okay, I can't say that. They defeated indie wrestlers John Skyler and Corey Hollis. This was an okay match. This was basically Hollis and Skyler putting some heat by keeping Ryder away from Mojo. Eventually getting the tag on Mojo. Mojo comes in, cleans house, A couple minutes later, they win the match with the... It wasn't the Rough Rider. It was the... I think it was the Hype Rider. The Hyper Rider or something like that. I forget exactly what the name was. Either way, it was basically an elevated Rough Rider from Mojo Rawley and Zack. Hype Bros win the match after losing last week to the Vaudevillains, who have returned and are now obviously heels and more aggressive. Even back when they were originally heels as a tag team, they weren't nearly as aggressive as this. One thing to note, just as a side topic, Corey Hollis, I think maybe worth looking into, if only for the fact that he was the last guy to face AJ Styles on the indie scene. Well, on AJ's indie scene. Many people would think it was his match with Zack Sabre Jr., which was an absolutely great match. By far a great match. But as far as AJ's last indie match, it was actually just last Friday against Corey Hollis. So maybe worth a little bit looking more into, but maybe that's just a matter of opponents, and maybe, he actually does kind of stink and Styles made him look good or something. I don't know. Next, we had what was, in my opinion, the worst match of the night. What? Actually, scratch that. Second worst match of the night. Or worse, I don't know. Take your pick of this and the next one. We had Alexa Bliss come out with Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake, or just Blake and Murphy. And Alexa Bliss went up against Cameron. I groaned at the idea that Cameron sells a job in WWE. She was kicked off WWE Tough Enough back in 2011 or 2010, I forget which one. But he was kicked off Tough Enough by Stone Cold Steve Austin about 5 years ago. And I guess just to belabor the point that she sucks, because she apparently said that her favorite match is Alicia Fox versus Melina from SummerSlam 2010. A match that went on only about 5.5 minutes and sucked donkey chode. Yeah. She also is the woman who... man, this is horrible. She's also the woman who, a couple years ago, tried to pay off a cop to let her go out of after a DUI. She tried to pay the cop $10,000 to just let her go. How the hell she has a job, I don't know. And just a couple weeks ago, when they had the Women's Battle Royal #1 contendership for Bayley's NXT Women's Championship, not Bayley, Cameron had a backstage promo, which sucked, because she said, I am going to win the Battle Royal, and then I will go on to win the NXT Women's #1 contendership. You mean go on to win the NXT Women's Championship, you dumbass? Okay, my rant aside, this match was not that good, with the exception of the crowd. Oddly, and the finish, but the crowd, oddly enough, more often than not, the crowds were chanting and cheering for Alexa Bliss. They really liked Alexa Bliss here. Cameron was so hated here that they would cheer on a complete, at least on screen, a complete bitch in Alexa Bliss. That it's just mind-boggling how, like, oh god. You see, NXT fans are not stupid. They know exactly who to cheer for, who to boo for, and they know that Cameron, by all accounts, should not even be in WWE. With that said, this was basically a nothing match with but the ending I actually liked. I forget what the splash is called, so guys, help me out here. What's the name of Alexa Bliss's finisher? She went to the top rope and did kind of like it's like a it's almost like a moonsault, except she kind of twisted in the air a little bit. So reminiscent of not a 450 of a Phoenix Splash, but not quite that level. I forget what the move is called. The guys, comment section below, please tell me what the move is called. I really don't know. But it was a cool finish. I like how Alexa Bliss is improving. Hopefully she'll go on to be a very good women's wrestler in NXT and hopefully on the main roster. If she's not on the main roster, well then, screw you, WWE. Or should I say Vince? Next, we had a backstage segment. The only backstage segment I'm talking about, which was, it was originally Enzo and Cass versus, not Enzo and Cass, but Enzo and Cass were having a backstage promo. With, well, just by themselves. They were going to call up Dash and Dawson. All of a sudden, we see American Alpha, which is, American Alpha, which is the tag team of Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, possibly the best tag team that WWE has right now. I am not joking. Well, with the exception of maybe Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, but both of them are out on injury. Aside from that, they were having a very fun backstage promo where they were going to talk about, you know, whatever the hell it was. It's really one of those things where you look at the promo, you watch the promo, they seem to be just being themselves. They're talking like how normal people would talk for a good few seconds there, and I loved it. It gave a sense of realism to it. They did announce that there's going to be an 8-person tag team match next week. It's going to be American Alpha and Enzo and Cass versus Blake and Murphy, and I believe the Vaudevillains. No, not the Vaudevillains. Blake and Murphy and Dash and Dawson, the NXT Tag Team Champions. It was actually a very fun backstage segment where Gable tried to get all 3 guys to say ready, willing, and Gable. And I think there was either Enzo or Cass, but one of them called him Skywalker. And as they were walking away, Gable's like, wait a minute, that's not my name. Not my name at all. I loved it. This was possibly the best thing about tonight, was that backstage segment. It was so much fun to watch. Afterwards, we go from one of the best parts of the night to the worst part of the night. We have the Drifter, Elias Sampson, coming out for another boring match. Here's the thing with Elias Sampson. He's not a bad wrestler. He's not a bad wrestler. It's not even his gimmick that's bad. I don't know what it is. Something about Elias Sampson is boring. They need to do something with him. Maybe it's because he's not talking. Maybe it's because he's not feuding with anyone. And from what I hear, he will be facing Apollo Crews at NXT TakeOver Dallas. So maybe he will be feuding with Crews very soon. But they got to do something with the guy. Or else, you know, nobody's going to give 2 shits. With that said, the match itself was okay. Samson faced off against TNA's former Jesse Sorensen, who honestly deserves a lot better than what he's doing right now. That injury back at Against All Odds 2012 really screwed over his career until, I think it was like the spring or the summer of 2013. So he was gone for over a year, like a year and a half. I feel really sad for Sorensen. But yeah, I think the only reason why I even care about so-called Jobber is that I actually have seen Jesse Sorensen. He's not that bad. They just need to give him a chance to do stuff. And of course, and he hasn't been doing anything. He has appeared on NXT before, so maybe they'll do something with him down the road. You know, when guys like Balor, Cruz, Joe, and Zayn and Nakamura, because since Shinsuke Nakamura is going to face Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas, so Nakamura, Zayn, Joe, Cruz, Balor, when those guys, Enzo and Cass, when those guys go up to the main roster, maybe that'll make way for up-and-comers like who will probably be on top after that, Baron Corbin, Elias Sampson, I don't know who else. Probably Asuka, because Bayley might be going up next this year. I predict Bayley's going to go to main roster this year. But, yeah, I'm ranting again. I'm sorry. But either way, that's that. So maybe they'll do something with Sorensen, with Hollis, with Gargano, with Tommaso Ciampa, and with John Skyler when those guys go up there to the main roster. Next, we have the main event, which is Bayley defending her NXT Women's Championship against her best friend, her legit best friend, Carmella, who of course is part of the End Zone Cast act. Gonna say it right now. Bayley is the best women's wrestler that WWE has. No joke. Yes, they have great women's wrestlers in Charlotte, in Sasha, and in Becky. But Bayley, and I read this earlier, at first I was very hesitant to say so. At first I was very I was in denial. But then when I read about it on one of my Ask.fm users' accounts, Bayley is kind of like Bret Hart. Not nearly as good as he was in the ring, but he can adapt she can adapt her style. She can work an overbooked match with Eva Marie that ended up being Eva Marie's only good match so far. She can work a big man versus little man match with Nia Jax at TakeOver London. And she can work I kind of like a different style with Carmella here, taking things slow and then slowly but surely building it up, causing tension. Bret Hart was like that. He was famous for that, being one of the best in-ring wrestlers ever lived. Bayley is probably one of the best in-ring women's wrestlers ever lived, at least in America. I don't know about Japan. There's Asuka. But, yeah. And this was by far Carmella's best match so far in her career. It was definitely a good match. Let me get this right out of the way. All the matches on here, they don't go anywhere past the 3-star rating. The only ones that deserve 3 stars are really Bayley and Carmella, and I think it would be Corbin and Gargano, maybe Corbin and Gargano, but yeah. But in my opinion, this was the match of the night. It was given the most amount of time. They worked a very well booked match. It was well paced. Well paced. Now, I was about to say paste like Paste. No, wrong paste. Afterwards, post-match celebration, Bayley won the title match. She hugged it out with Carmella, congratulated her and everything. And while she was celebrating in the ring, as Carmella was going up the ramp, she gets attacked by Eva Marie and Nia Jax, who have been in a partnership ever since Nia Jax's arrival to NXT. Bayley goes down the ramp. She tries to fend off Eva Marie and Nia Jax to no avail. She gets beat up. Eva Marie pulls her in the ring. Nia Jax goes for her leg drops, which I'm going to say this right now. She needs a new finisher. Her leg drop sucks. Her leg drop freaking sucks. It does not look painful at all. It is, in fact, the worst finisher on NXT right now. But yeah, Nia Jax's finisher blows. It blows chunkies. She needs a new finisher. She has to change it because this leg drop finisher is just crappy. It looks horrible. In the beginning, when she originally debuted, it looked good. But the way she's doing the leg drop now, it looks like she's not even trying. Afterwards, Asuka came out with, obviously, a new t-shirt. And she confronted Eva Marie and Nia Jax Marie and Jax both slowly but surely went out of the ring. Obviously, because Nia Jax is not a woman to be messed with. Because seriously, she can eat you alive. And then we see Bayley standing there, and not Carmella. Asuka kind of does this, like this, like wipes off the NXT Women's Championship that Bayley is holding on her shoulder, basically saying that I want the NXT Women's Championship too. And this is something that Lucha Underground has been recently doing. All these women are feuding with each other, but the ultimate goal is the NXT Women's Championship. That's the ultimate goal here, and I love that. It makes the title feel important. Nothing like all the crap that we see on Raw, but it makes the championship feel more important that it's been given this kind of attention. Afterwards, afterwards we had a brief interview with Samoa Joe. Earlier in the night, Sami Zayn gave his interviews. Joe gave his. Both of them were basically declaring that they will win the match. They will be number one contendership, and both of them sound very believable. Especially Joe with his kick-ass style of promo. But overall, it was a good show. Some bad parts here and there, but it was overall a good, fun show. Match of the night: Eva Marie and Carmella. Not Eva Marie and Carmella. That would actually be horrible. Carmella and Bayley. And it was a good show. I'm looking forward to the Joe Zayn match next week. Which it's gonna be the first time they ever faced off against each other in a singles match. I'm excited for that. So until then, guys, farewell.